In the last lesson, we saw what happens when an exception is thrown and it's not handled. In this lesson, we're going to begin to look at how to handle exceptions by using a try-catch statement. So let's get started. We're going to start a program called try-catch.java. And before I begin actually demonstrating the try-catch, let's look at the general form of a try-catch statement. So we'll have before the try-catch probably some sort of set of statements that we're going to begin with. Then once we do, then we'll have the try. The try is followed by an open curly brace that indicates the beginning of the block in which exceptions may be thrown from. In other words, these are the statements that could possibly be throwing exceptions. So we'll write that out right here. So those go inside a block. To make that a little bit easier to follow, I'll put it down here. The try is followed by a catch. The catch always has a parameter, and that will be some type of exception object. It can be a built-in exception, for example, one of the ones we saw in the last lesson, or it can be an exception that you create yourself. You can create your own exception objects. Inside the catch will go a set of statements to clean up whatever went wrong. Again, we're doing this so that our program won't crash and go back to the operating system level. So inside the catch will be whatever we need to do to clean up the mess that we made, so to speak. So with that, let's look at an example. Let's recreate the exceptions example from earlier. So we had a numerator, which we set to a value. Then we had a denominator, which we set to a value. In this case, the value is 0. Now, at this point, we're ready to introduce the try-catch. So here we'll put the division expression itself. And that's all we need to have in there. Now we'll have the catch. Our parameter will be the exception that can be thrown, which is called an arithmetic exception. And then we'll just write E as our variable for that, or object. It's very common just to use the letter E. You can certainly have something more expressive if you want to. Now here we'll have some sort of display or some sort of message to the user telling them what went wrong, as well as something to clean up the problem. So here we might say system out, print line, can't divide by 0, followed by some way to fix that, and then try the statement again. Now, of course, right here, I'm simplifying things quite a bit. If this was a real program, we'd probably have a graphical user interface, and we'd put the focus back in the text box for the user to enter a new denominator, or wherever it is the user's entering the data. In a character-based program, I might prompt the user to enter another denominator. But just to keep things simple, I'm just going to reassign it myself right here to demonstrate that we can work our way out of this by reassigning a non-zero value for the denominator. So let's save this, go back to our command prompt. So now let's compile the program, javac, try-catch.java. Then let's run it. So we see we printed the message, can't divide by 0, then it divided 12 by 2 to give us 6. So that's how the try-catch statement works. We try something that could lead to an exception. If the exception occurs, then it's caught here, and we do what we need to do to clean it up, and then continue on with the program. Of course, this is the end of the program, so we stop. But if there was more, it would go right after we end the catch. So those are the basics of the try-catch statement, and let's move on to the next lesson where we're going to look at another example.